you. Can you guys hear me? Can you hear me okay? Awesome. First off, thank you, Nate and crew, for having me here. What an honor it is to be in front of this crowd and in this space. So thank you. I have to admit that when Dana asked me to be the speaker this month, of course I was honored and excited, and then I had this moment of panic because I thought, ooh, let's go to my slides here. I thought, what am I going to wear? This crowd is so stylish, and they have so much, they have good taste, and I'm just from a small town in the Midwest, and I just don't feel like I'm cool enough. So I had that panic, and then I had an epiphany that one of the most motivational and inspirational speakers of all time used to wear a turtleneck and mom jeans every time he presented. And I thought, you know what? It doesn't matter what I wear. What matters is the content. So thank you, Steve Jobs, for many things. All right, before we dive in, I would like to have you all join me in a brief visualization exercise. So if I could ask you to please clear off whatever's on your lap, whatever's in your hands, put it under the seat, and find a nice grounded position, placing both feet on the ground. If it feels good to move your shoulders up to your ears and down your back, you can do that. Settle into your seat, or if you're standing, find a grounded position. Now you can close your eyes or cast your gaze down, unfocusing your eyes. And together, why don't we take a few deep breaths? So let's exhale everything out first. Take a big deep breath in through the nose, filling your lungs to capacity. And then exhale out of the mouth. Let's do that again. Big deep breath. And exhale. And once more, inhale. And exhale. And now, keeping your eyes closed, I invite you to think back on a time when you either gave or received compassion. So a time when you noticed someone suffering and you helped that person, or a time when you yourself were suffering and someone helped you. See if you can paint the picture with as much detail as possible, noticing where you are, who was there, what you hear, what you see, what was happening. And now tuning into how you feel. Noticing what sensations you're having as you're giving or receiving compassion. Where do you feel it, and what does it feel like? And now returning just to the breath by taking a couple mindful breaths again. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes. So what does compassion feel like? Anybody want to share? Warm. Anybody else feel that? Warm? What's another word? Comfort. Where did you feel it? Anybody want to show me? In your chest area? Yeah. Compassion feels pretty good, right? Well, I'm here because my passion is compassion. And guys, we need a little more of it in our world today, right? What are we facing as a society and as a world? Who wants to name out some of the things we're facing, some of the problems we're experiencing right now? Wait, was that? Fear? What are some social problems we're facing? I missed it. What was that? Detachment, traffic, okay. What's stereotyping? Oh, DACA, yep. Racism? Apathy? Climate change, anybody? North Korea? I don't know. Pick a news feed, any news feed, and you might want to just go back to bed, right? It's a scary time. And I'm not here to spend the next 30 minutes talking to you about all the stuff going on, because that would be really depressing, and I don't think you guys would want me to do that. I'm here because I believe there's a solution. And the solution is to give everyone a golden doodle. Because when no, I wish. You know what? That would be amazing. It is giveaway day here, right? No, that would create world peace, let's be real. But no, this is my dog. The solution is compassion. And the reason why I have a picture of my 14-year-old golden doodle up here is because I wanted to elicit that response. Aww. And because in my mind, Scout is the embodiment of compassion. Scout loves everybody, and everybody loves Scout. I live in Mission Beach, and so I walk her on the boardwalk all the time, and we get stopped constantly by people who want to pet her. And she doesn't care what gender, what age. She doesn't care if you're homeless. Man, she wants you to pet her. And she loves it when you do. And I believe that compassion truly is the answer to our problems. I believe through compassion, we can create peace within ourselves and peace on this planet. So today I'm going to share a little bit about my organization, Compassionate, and we're going to also dive into what compassion is. But in order to tell you about Compassionate, I have to share a little bit of my own story. So this is a picture of me with my daughter Hannah when she was 18 months old. And even though I look smiley and happy in this photograph, I was actually going through the most difficult time of my life. I was facing an unwanted divorce. I had quit my job to be home with her. And I don't know if you guys remember 2008, but there were no jobs. So I was searching for a job, couldn't find one. I couldn't eat. I couldn't sleep. I was depressed. And I was really searching for direction. And when kids are that age, they nap a lot. And so I spent a lot of time on the couch watching daytime television, which actually ended up being a good thing, believe it or not, because I stumbled upon an Ellen episode which changed the direction of my life. Ellen was featuring the author Wayne Dyer, and he was talking about compassion. And Wayne Dyer said, the most important lesson to teach our children is compassion. Yeah, we should teach them math and stuff. But if we could teach our kids to put themselves in another's shoes, we could solve every social problem on the planet. No more hunger, no more war, you name it, it's gone with compassion. And I had never really pondered the power of compassion before, and I couldn't get it out of my head. And that very evening, I had an idea, an energy-efficient idea, evidently. That's the clip art I could find. The word compassionate, in my mind, turned into two words. And I saw it just like that, compassionate. And I thought, oh, that's so cool. It's like, just do it, right? This makes compassion a verb. This should be a bumper sticker. That's the first thing I thought of. This could be like the next coexist. So, I know, hey, that's exciting, right? So I Googled it, assuming, well, surely someone else has come up with this little play on words before, and if anyone had, they hadn't done anything with it. So I started the trademarking process for stickers. And then I postponed that trademark for 3 years. It took me that long to get my life back on track. And during that 3 years, I practiced this. And I realized, man, when I'm compassionate, things just go a lot more smoothly. And let me tell you, when you're going through a divorce, that is not easy to do. But when I did, it really worked out for the best. So I recognize this is a powerful two-word phrase here. It has helped me tremendously, and it could help a lot of other people. I need to get this out there. If I die, this could die, and I want to at least get it going. So I made some bumper stickers, and I started giving them away. And then that quickly turned into t-shirts. And I thought, oh, this could be a brand. We could sell products that then fund compassion education. Because in the back of my mind, I'm remembering Wayne Dyer saying we need to teach this to our kids. So that we're making organic cotton t-shirts. There's a Facebook page with the store up. And I was feeling like deep down, this is not just a brand. This needs to be the way people live. This needs to be a movement. And so one of my very brilliant marketing friends, Sherry Wilkins, said, if you want to start a movement, you might want to sell something cheaper than a $30 organic cotton t-shirt. I was like, oh, good point. She said, what about one of those Live Strong wristbands? And I was like, those are lame. I've never worn one. Bad idea. And then that very evening, I thought, I wonder if I could find a wristband that has two sides to it. So every time you compassion it, or you do an act of compassion, you could flip the wristband. And so sure enough, I found a vendor, and the world's first reversible cause wristband that creates action was born. So we had 500 pairs of these bracelets. We always sell them in pairs so that you wear one and share one. And again, a Facebook page with maybe 100 likes. I thought this was a pretty cool idea, but would anyone else? I wasn't sure. So we're plugging along, and during this time where I'm developing Compassionate, I was involved in a social entrepreneurship project, and a couple of my teammates were college students who were from a town called Northbrook, Illinois. And they called me that summer, this is 2012, they called me one day and they said, Sarah, we need Compassionate. We have lost 3 friends within 3 weeks, 2 to suicide, and 1 in a car accident. And our community is devastated. We really think that this can help. So I shipped that we probably had almost 500 pairs of bracelets. This was a couple months after getting these. I shipped them all there. They called me, the third boy's death was on Monday. They called me on Tuesday. They set up a Facebook event for that Friday to sell the bracelets. I said, we don't need to make money off this. Let's just set up a scholarship fund in the boys' names. Within 12 hours, over 1,000 people had RSVP'd. And they sold these wristbands on Friday. They were all gone in 42 minutes. And then the stories started pouring in from this community. And I tell you, these stories were showing that this community was healing because of compassion. And I cannot imagine a more incredible proof of concept for an entrepreneur than that. So I knew this could be something. Well, we're still maybe hovering at a few hundred likes on Facebook. There's no website yet. I still have another job. Not sure what's going to happen with Compassionate. And then one day, I'll never forget it, I was with my daughter at gymnastics, and our Facebook likes were jumping exponentially. I'm sure you're wondering, why weren't you paying attention to your daughter? Right? Stop it with the judgment, you guys. I was looking at the Facebook page, and the likes were jumping exponentially, and I was like, man, I must have been really clever with the last post, I guess. I don't know what's going on. And then I started getting some notes from people saying, it's not very compassionate that you do not allow people from overseas to buy these. And I was like, well, that's weird. Why does anybody from overseas know about this? And then finally, I got a message from someone saying, in case you want to know what happened, this person just posted this. I'm going to show you this video.
No, I have to know now. I really need a wee at the moment, but I want to finish this video. For those of you that don't know, I have a P.O. box now, and someone sent me this wristband. It's a wristband that says compassionate, and on the other side it's black. And the point is that you start off in the morning flipping it to the black side, and when you show an act of compassion that day, you get to flip it to the white side to show that you've done something nice for somebody. And it's a 365-day challenge where you have to do something nice every day. I've done mine this morning. Basically what I've been doing is searching the words having a bad day into into Twitter, and then I'm just picking someone who said that they're having a bad day, and then I'm just sending them a tweet being like, I really hope your day gets better because it's rubbish that you're feeling rubbish. Just hoping that kind of just kind words from a stranger will make someone feel better. Just knowing that someone that they don't even know cares how they feel. But I'll put the link to the Facebook. I think you can buy them on the Facebook. I'll put it underneath my bed.
So that is Carrie, I know, crazy, right? That's Carrie Hope Fletcher. Her brother is in a boy band in England, and therefore she's famous and has hundreds of thousands of followers around the world to her, her YouTube channel. And someone from Northbrook, Illinois sent their extra wristband to her. And that happened. Obviously, I right away enabled overseas shipping in the Facebook store, figured out how to do that, and literally overnight, Compassionate became a global movement. Thank you. It's amazing. Now, if we could get somebody like really famous to tweet about, okay. Okay, so now I'm excited to share that now Compassionate wristbands, we have over 130,000 of our wristbands in 6 continents, more than 50 countries, and all 50 states creating compassionate actions. From villages in Liberia to teenagers in Argentina to homes in Nepal, these wristbands are creating compassion all over the world. During this whole process, I became pretty obsessed with compassion, as you can imagine. And I found out that Stanford has a Center for Compassion and Altruism Research and Education, and it's part of their med school. And they created an 8-week course called Compassion Cultivation Training that helps people cultivate compassion. And I found out that they were looking for people to teach the course. And I was very fortunate to get enrolled in the program there to get certified to teach this 8-week course. So I became a compassion teacher. Thank you. So Compassionate is a nonprofit organization. We do compassion education programs in schools, in businesses, in hospitals, and now, thanks to Mariette, in prisons and also in jails. And Compassionate, thanks to the wristband, it's a global movement as well. So I'm throwing this word around a lot. We've been talking about this today. Well, what is compassion? At its Latin roots, compassion means to suffer with. So when we're compassionate, we're able to stay present with suffering. We're not running away from it. We're not pretending that it's not there. And we're also not getting overwhelmed by it. We're able to stay with suffering. Stanford defines compassion as a 4-step process. And the first step is awareness. And so I led you all through a visualization exercise, a little bit of mindfulness. And mindfulness is key for compassion, because if I don't see you suffering, I can't help. Right? If I'm lost in thought, I don't know if you need me. I don't know if I need me. If my head is buried in my phone, how can I be compassionate? So being in the present moment is key to beginning this cascade of compassion. So I notice you're suffering, and then something bubbles in from within, and it's this feeling. I feel for you. This is empathy, right? Sometimes I may actually even feel what you feel because of the mirror neurons in my brain. So, for example, let's say you guys see me slam the door on my big toe and it rips my big toenail off. I know, it's gross, right? And it might actually hurt you if you see that. That's because, I'm sorry. Is it too early for that? I'm getting I hear the groans. That wasn't very nice. That's because of the mirror neurons in your brain that allow you to actually feel what I'm feeling. Well, sometimes those aren't kicking in, and we have to use our imaginations and say, I can imagine what you might be feeling like. And that's empathy, right? So we feel something, and then there's this desire that comes up, this desire to see relief. And it's within us. Then the last step, which I think it's so cool that compassion is now a verb, Stanford says the last step is to take action. Now, does compassion need to be this huge, elaborate act? No. Oftentimes, just being present is the most compassionate thing you can do for someone. So we're also throwing this word around a lot today, suffering. Well, what is suffering? Does suffering have to be a big, huge deal? My teachers taught me that a definition of suffering that I love, and it's whenever there is a gap between where you are and where you want to be. If you want something that you can't get, or you get something that you don't want, you're suffering. Does anybody ever want something they can't get or get something they don't want? Right. Most of us, most of the time. So probably 99% of the people walking around this planet are suffering in some way, right? In some small way, which means every person is a candidate for your compassion. So what gets in the way of us being scout-like? Why aren't we compassionate to everyone? Sometimes what gets in the way is we're in a hurry or we're distracted. But oftentimes it's our own brains. And it's not your fault that you're not compassionate. It's what's happening up here. So there's been quite a bit of research on unconscious biases and implicit biases. And Susan Fisk out of Princeton University came up with something she calls the stereotype content model. She believes that our brains automatically categorize people based on whether we perceive them as having either high power, status, or competence, or low, and whether we perceive them as being warm or cold. So we're going to do a brief little exercise here to kind of fill in this grid. This doesn't mean this is where people fall. This is just sometimes what our brains might be doing, okay? So let's think about who might fit in the high power, high warmth category. High power, high status, high competence. Oprah, the Pope, okay. Oprah, Pope, Ellen. I'm going to say Creative Mornings crew, right? Maybe you're, right? Cool, so you guys get it. That's that side. Now let's move over here to high power, high status, high competence, and we don't perceive them as warm. We perceive them as cold. Who might that be? Okay, maybe. And again, it depends on who you are. Maybe. Okay, so dictators. Oh no, no, that's okay. I'm not gonna go there. What about like maybe Wall Street CEO type bank presidents, politicians? Okay. Now let's move over here to to low power, low status, low competence, but we perceive them as warm still. Scout. Aww. Shout out to Scout. Maybe children here. I'm going to say, okay, maybe, but I think nurses have competence, but maybe we could put nurses here. This is usually what they do. So children and the elderly, or elderly, okay, social workers. Okay. There's a lot of buzz out there. You guys hang in with me here. Again, it depends on your own perception, right? So now if we move over here, low power, low status, low competence, and we don't perceive them as warm. Okay. Who else? Criminals. Okay. How about homeless people, maybe? Addicts sometimes fall here. All right. So now, how do we respond when we see this group, Oprah, the Pope, Ellen, or anyone in this room, suffer? How do we feel when we see them suffer? We feel compassion for this group, don't we? What about when we see politicians or bank presidents or Donald Trump, maybe? Yes, Schadenfreude. We actually might be happy that they're suffering, right? We say, you deserve it. What about when we see... What about when we see children or the elderly suffer? Compassion? Sometimes this is pity. Okay, and they're close cousins, but pity means I'm looking down and I feel sorry for you, right? I'm here, you're there. With compassion, we're here. Okay? So this group gets our pity. And what about when we see addicts or homeless people or criminals suffering? Indifference, right? Apathy. Sometimes we feel nothing. In fact, Susan Fisk's research, she did a study where people looked at photographs of different people and they paid attention to what was going on in the brain. And when people were looking at photographs of homeless people, the same part of the brain would light up as if they were looking at garbage or decaying flesh, and it was disgust. Sometimes this group isn't seen as human. And again, this is happening without you knowing, right? This is unconsciously going on in the brain. This is apathy. So, who has an easier time having compassion for this group? For the homeless, criminals, addicts? People who have been there. Maybe if you have a family member, right? Same with all of these groups. So at Compassionate, we believe everyone here deserves compassion. Everyone deserves compassion. Now, does compassion mean that it's okay for people that I'm condoning bad behavior or that I want you to hurt other people? No. Compassion means I'm going to see you as human, and I'm going to wish that you could be peaceful and free from suffering, because I bet you there aren't very many peaceful, happy dictators out there. I started reading Brené Brown's new book, Braving the Wilderness. It's amazing. And this quote really stood out to me. People are hard to hate close up. Move in. This is what we can do to make our world more compassionate. So, does anybody remember the last step of compassion? To take action. You guys are good. You're paying attention. Take action. So I have a couple calls to action for you. And the first one is to open your eyes to what's going on, to pay attention. And what I mean by that is pay attention to your own unconscious biases. Notice, oh, I'm not offering this person compassion, or, I'm feeling a little judgment here. This could be happening while you're on your Facebook feed, if you see some maybe political views that are different than yours. Notice if you're dehumanizing anyone. So that's the very first and best first step, is to be aware of your own mind and what it's doing. Secondly, I think you could just ask, what would Scout do? Right? That's a simple phrase to remember. Now, Scout does have this really terrible habit. When people stop petting her, she sticks her nose in their crotch and like nudges. I'm not kidding. It's horribly embarrassing, but it works because then people pet her again, right? So I don't recommend doing that, because Scout would do that. I'm not saying that that's good behavior, but Scout would love them. Scout loves everybody. So this man here holding a light bulb is Thomas Edison. And he wasn't a very compassionate guy, but he was a man with a simple vision. He believed that one light bulb could bring light to one dark corner. And look what happened. You can't really see this very well, but the whole United States is lit up in this photograph, right? Look what happened when his idea took off. At Compassionate, we have a similar vision. We believe that one flip of one wristband can bring light to one dark corner. And just imagine what might happen if this idea could spread. So I'll leave you with this. This is actually perfect timing because Compassionate is kicking off a 30-day challenge on Sunday, and I would love to have you guys join. It's free. Each week of the month is dedicated to a different component of compassion. So there's mindfulness, self-compassion, compassion for the planet, and we offer suggestions of ways that you can compassionate that day, and you can check off your calendar. People from around the world participate in this. This is our third year doing it. And this year, I can announce finally today that one of the yards at Donovan Prison will also be participating in this. So we're going to be bringing stories. I know. It's amazing. We're going to be bringing stories from Donovan to you all, and then also sharing your stories with them each week, which is exciting. So please, please sign up and participate in the 30-day challenge. And I also did want to mention the wristbands. Carrie Hope Fletcher told you to start on the dark side and flip it to the light side. It doesn't matter what side you start on. Just put it on, set your intention to compassion it, and then flip it. And thank you to Nate who provided these for the first 300 people here. That's amazing. I really appreciate it. And that's it. I think we're out of time. Although I'm taking questions now. So thank you all. I appreciate it.